I hereby call to order this meeting of the Strategic Housing Finance Corporation of Travis County. We are at La Posada Drive today, and it is 1:02 p.m. by my watch. Our first item of business will be the roll call and confirmation of quorum after my call to order.
President Julio Gonzalez Altamirano.
Present.
Vice President Jan Winning.
Present.
Director Delete Becker. Director Ashley Huddleston.
Present.
Director Keisha Prince.
Here.
Director Lisa Reams. Director Rebecca Weber. We do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone that is signed up under item 2 for citizen communication?
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I don't want to take too much of your time. I just wanted to say thank you. I've been talking to tenants for like the past month, maybe like month and a half, and all of the rent increases of $500, $600, $700 that people were getting have gone down to $40, max of like $80. And so I like just sending y'all the letter was really important to literally saving people from like housing crisis, and like you're really helping in the long chain of like keeping people housed and keeping people in affordable housing. So I wanted to say thank you, and like I know it's a small drop in the bucket and there's still a lot of work to be done, but I really am really grateful, and tenants wanted me to pass that along to y'all. So thank you on behalf of Rosemont tenants. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Director Winning, I saw that you raised your hand.
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
For the sake of our newest director, can you just introduce yourself and explain which property you're talking about?
Yeah, I introduced myself earlier, but I work
I'm
at... No, you're good. I'm a tenant organizer with BASTA. I work at Rosemont, so I just help tenants organize and get together and kind of figure out how to collectively solve issues. We've worked at Rosemont for like more or less 4 years with different organizers, but I'm the organizer that is like most current. And I sent you all the letter about all of the issues that tenants are facing. And that was just one of the small issues that has been resolved just with that letter alone. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that Director Rebecca Weber has joined us. Hello, Director Weber. Is there anybody else signed up for public forum citizen communication?
No, sir.
All right. Then we will move on to agenda item number 3, the Director's Report. Executive Director Diana Gray, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. We can go on to the next slide, please. So, directors, you have in front of you actually the November financials. Those were not in the package because our board member meeting was so early this month. But as a summary, we ended the month with net assets of $11.3 million, almost $10 million of that in cash and cash equivalents. As you review that, you will notice that the financial statements at month end for November do not reflect the board designated funds that were approved last board meeting, 11/21. They have since been created. So you will see those reflected in your year-end financials for December. So we have, of our net assets, we have set aside $4.5 million between our housing production fund and our general reserve fund. Next slide. As we get close to rounding out the year, we are at close to 100% of our projected income year to date. And expenditures, as you know, are well below budgeted amounts for 2 reasons. One is that we had budgeted the entire $2 million for the Rosemont tenant investment program, and will soon be making our first advance from that, but have not utilized those funds. And then, of course, we were gradually hiring up staff, which I'll talk about in a moment. So not including Rosemont, we are at about 55% of our projected expenditure, meaning, and the graph shows you that we, over time, steadily increased our net revenues. I will note that as we look forward to year end, we, may come in right around 90 to 100%. We also do anticipate that we may have a substantial closing of one of the transactions that you did final approval of last month, which is Forest Park. is a disposition, a new partner coming in. And so we will likely either be very close to our projected revenues, or we may be several times over the projected revenues. And that, if it doesn't close by year end, we would anticipate closing in the early days of 2025. Any questions on the financials? Hearing none, we'll go to the next slide. So these numbers are generally similar in terms of our active partnerships and the units. We have still 2 projects under lease up. Our occupancy again dropped a little bit, just under a point between October and November, and continue to have 13 board approved deals in the pipeline for for about 3,100 new units that we would hope to close over 2025 and in some cases into 26. Next slide. So again, here you have the indication of occupancy by property. We talked specifically last month about Villages at Fiskville, and staff continue to work with them to course correct there where possible. We are missing data from one property, which is the other red cell that you see there in the November column. And I think just to signal to you that as we bring on our portfolio manager, we'll anticipate having some additional nuance in our portfolio reporting on a monthly basis, beyond just occupancy. Next slide. Right. Other exciting updates. So as you know, we are in the process of building our team out to a baker's dozen of 13 staff members, and starting with just 2 at the beginning of this year. We anticipate making our final offers likely early next week. And so are hopeful that if all goes well, we will have the full team assembled for you at your next board meeting. And in that vein, I want to introduce to you a couple of new staff members. First, Katie Adams has joined us as Director of Finance and Administration. Katie comes to us from Health Alliance for Austin Musicians.
Ooh, yeah.
And has been here, I think we're on perhaps day 10 or 9 even. Yes.
10 is exactly right.
Excellent.
She's a numbers person.
So in the future, you will hear from Ms. Adams as we talk about finance reports. The other announcement that we're very excited to make is that we have had one other team member join us who is a familiar face to you, Jackson Mabry, who has been
Hey! Big
will join us as a development analyst long-term. Also wanted to give you a quick update on the Rosemont Tenant Investment Program. We, as anticipated, expect having the grant agreement signed with El Buen Samaritano by year end, and in fact, we might be in the on any day sort of category right now, and are working with them toward the January launch of that program. We will have community meetings Monday and Tuesday of next week in both English and Spanish, daytime and evening. El Buen will join us for the first time, so we'll be able to introduce them to the assembled tenants, and then in January sort of do the formal handoff as they launch the program. For communications, a couple of updates. One, President Altamirano asked that we specifically speak to a planned annual report. So we, as you may know, in addition to Aero Media, who has been working with us on rebranding, work with Steady Hand PR for sort of more day-to-day execution. We've worked with them to source a designer for the report. Expect to be working on content in the first half of January, and while we don't have a hard timeline yet, hoping that would be complete by the end of January. And then, of course, we are excited to talk about the rollout of our rebranding. Go to the next slide. Many of you have been, and if not all, participating with us over the last several months as we worked through rebranding and messaging with Aero Media. They did the brand audit, which involved in-depth interviews of about 20 stakeholders, including board members. We had a board member work session. They developed and gave us, I think, some really useful feedback about how we're perceived in the community and where we need to clarify and what some of our opportunities are. That resulted in a brand platform which spoke to really kind of the key messages that we want to communicate. From there, we moved on to logo development, the results of which are shown on your screen. And so what they have done is develop a suite of logos for us. They did consider, but ultimately recommended that we not change our name, but that perhaps on a day-to-day basis, we lean into Strategic HFC as a more nimble nomenclature than our full name. So the top two logos there are the ones that you will likely see most often, but also recognizing that at times we need to use our more formal name, like this meeting where we are representing Travis County through the board meeting. They have completed visual identity guidelines for us. So the color palette, which some of you voted on or gave us feedback on as we were working through the process, and are now into the work of doing the design work on collateral. So you'll begin to see signature lines in our emails. We're working on the website, business cards, etc. But the very first of which are the lapel pins that we received today. So we're very excited. That will be a bit of a gradual process. And then we will be teed up in early 2025 to take a more comprehensive look at our website, not only from a design standpoint, but from a function standpoint as well.
Well done.
Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a small thing, but the lapels, as you know, mean so much in terms of how far we've come. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Any questions on updates?
Seeing no questions, thank you for your report. Madam Executive Director, we will now move to the consent agenda. We have the minutes as well as a variety of tidying up resolutions. Are there any objections to moving these items via unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, the items are so moved. We are now on to the action agenda. And we will begin with item B, as I believe we are postponing items A and C as they are still under their works in progress. And
That is correct.
All right.
And I will invite Director of Real Estate, Alex Radke, to present.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. So I'm here to talk with y'all about Ledgestone Apartments, which we're putting forward to support a bond application for traditional carry forward for the 2025 bond lottery year. If you go to the next slide, please, Kevin. So just a quick overview of the project. It's located in South Austin off of 290, kind of near the Y. And it is a new construction project expected to be 3-story garden style, a total of 240 units with a mix of 1 to 4 bedrooms. All units at this point expected to be 60% MFI. This would be a traditional bond 4% tax credit project, and the development partner would be Kittle, or the developer would be Kittle Property Group. You'll also see on this slide a rendering, a potential rendering, and then a anticipated list of resident services. Kevin, can you go to the next slide, please? Here we've got just a bit of information about Kittle Property Group. This would be a new development partner for Strategic. They're based out of Indiana, but do have a strong foothold here in Texas with over 10 affordable multifamily properties. They do focus on 4% tax credit properties and already have 2 projects in Austin, one that's in operation and one that's under construction. They are a national development group as well. And we do have today with us Carly Gass, their development director here in Texas. Kevin, the next slide, please. So just kind of high-level overview, we are being asked to support a bond inducement request of $50 million, which is the max amount for a 2025 traditional carry forward application. So I'll pause just for a second to kind of go over traditional carry forward. As y'all are familiar with, normally on bonds applications, we support bond applications going into the lottery process. There is another process called traditional carry forward, in which bond allocation that gets returned to the bond pool after the allocation timeline has run out still needs to be used per se. And so folks put in traditional carry forward applications in January. And then at the end of the year, once the amount of returned bond allocation is known, it's a kind of first come, first serve from the first application up at the top kind of going down. And so we would put in this application, or this application would go in on January 1st or 2nd, I believe, but we wouldn't know until towards the end of 2025 whether or not it would be successful, and then it wouldn't actually receive the bond allocation until January 2026. All that to say, it is right now in very, very early stages as far as kind of timeline planning. One of the advantages of carry forward, while it does have that really long timeline, is if you do get a traditional carry forward allocation, you have 3 years to close versus the normal 180 days to close. So that does really help with potential permitting timeline concerns. And then I do have kind of just here the high-level bond issuance fees that Strategic is estimated to receive from the project as well, with about a $400,000 fee at close, $150,000 in the subsequent 2 years, and then $50,000 per year after that.
I was just going to mention that at this time, Kittle is requesting just the bond inducement. They likely would need a partner for ad valorem tax exemption, but we are not bringing that before the board at this time.
Correct. So we would come back, if it does look like it would be a successful carry forward application, we would be coming back to the board towards the end of next year with a request for support and entering into a partnership on this property. And that's all I have. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. Thank you so much for being here. Is Ms. Cass, is that the appropriate way of saying it?
That's fine,
right way?
partly whatever.
Okay.
It's fine.
Before the meeting started, we were talking about northern Indianapolis and the fact that I have some family there. And so I'm very familiar with Carmel, Indiana, as well as that Ms. Cass grew up in Iowa, which is a state that I have yet to visit, but I have a lot of affinity for. One of the things I hope you picked up as we were talking and the meeting has been progressing is that we are a very mission-driven organization, and we care a lot about tenant well-being. Since you are a new prospective partner, there's 2 questions that I typically ask and have asked of all the folks that are starting out with us to make sure that they understand why this is so important to us. The first one is kind of the origin story of the new version of our organization, and it has to do when property management fails. So I'm curious if you have an example or examples of when property management in properties that Kittle controls, influences, or has developed has not been as effective as we would want if we care about tenant well-being, and how you've rectified that situation.
So, thank you again for having me this afternoon. So I work on the development side. I'm not super involved on the property management side. I do have, I think, maybe a bit of an example, kind of like a lessons learned. So this would be our probably 8th or 9th new construction bond development in Texas since we started focusing on new construction bond deals in 2018. Those first couple of projects that we did, we were not prepared for the size of them. So the first one I think was 264 units, I believe. We historically had only done 9% deals, acquisition rehabs, much smaller projects, you know, sub 100 unit deals. So all of a sudden we started doing these 200 plus unit bond deals, and there was a bit of a learning curve as far as the property management side. So a lot of that came from pre-construction. We on some properties didn't plan the appropriate security measures. We didn't plan for the appropriate amenities. So we've learned from those first 2 or 3 projects, we've learned a ton. We put a very, very robust security system in at construction. There's an amount budgeted annually to support that system. We have our amenities, our services, and everything like that down. So I think, generally speaking, this is kind of answering your question, kind of not, but generally speaking, I think we've learned lessons on those deals from 6+ years ago now, and we've been able to apply them to the last 6 or 7. And the operations of these communities has gone much, much better. So I know it doesn't answer your question great. Like I said, I'm not on the property, so I don't know day to day, but I will say we do have a really strong team of on-site managers, but we also have regional managers that oversee those properties, and then a vice president that oversees everyone. I know that the regionals, the VP, and even Jeff Kittle himself fly out and see the properties on a very regular basis. So, someone's always checking in to make sure things are running smoothly, but we're very good about if something's not working, pivoting, and doing whatever we can to fix the issue.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And then the second question that I typically ask is, what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to your organization to work with a mission-driven partner? What are things that you expect we will do differently, and what do you think are potential complementary strengths that we may bring to the table? It's sort of a question that's around why us, and how can we be of value? But it also is to help us understand sort of where the overlap in potential values as we begin in this early phase of the relationship, where it might lead us. We kind of want to understand how you think about us as a organization that ultimately serves the public and is trying to create high quality public assets that deliver affordability. What do you think about mission-driven organizations? What's your experience with what do you expect out of them?
Sure. So Kittle Property Group is mission-driven as well. We call them our 3 C's. So our main mission or 3 C's as the culture, commitment, and community. So we try to live out those values in our developments through our partnerships. And quite honestly, this deal would not work without your partnership. So you're a very, very important piece in this development. And, we look for groups that's mission is to help provide affordable housing, because again, we need you for this to be economically feasible. And, we need a partner that wants to be involved and provide the housing and is local and knows the market and can help us effectively develop the deal and run it long term.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for those answers. My colleagues may have some additional questions. One of my colleagues who is not here, it tends to be our construction quality queen. She has typically a battery of questions she asks about construction quality. Let's see if some of my other colleagues want to add some specific questions outside of Director Becker's construction quality concerns, and if not, then I'll come back and ask you about that. Fellow directors, do any of you want the floor? Director Wenning, you have the floor.
Hey, and welcome to our new offices and our new branding. You've come in at a really interesting time for Strategic Housing Finance Corporation, and I really am so pleased to see you make the effort to be here in person. It really, of course, it's great. And I also really appreciated your frank response to the President's inquiries about mission-driven status and lessons learned. With an organization as large as yours and spanning across so many states, I'm sure there's been lessons learned. And I was really impressed with how frank you were and how willing you were to talk about things that didn't go well and how you calibrated. I do want to share with you that I shared with staff some news articles I ran across about your company in another state, and I've asked them to get back to us with like what was the resolution of those concerns from the tenant side. One of our main missions here is very much tenant-centered. We have 2 directors who represent tenants of our properties or former properties on our board, which is pretty unique. We also just passed the tenants bill of, wasn't that in the consent agenda?
The new framework, yep.
The tenants bill of rights to be endorsed by all of our partners, and even in this setting that you're in right now. So I hope you'll get a chance to familiarize yourself with that focus of ours. And so, yeah, that would be my only thoughts about how we could like work very closely with you to elaborate and to elucidate what our values are. And I'm looking forward to hearing back from Alex and other staff about the items of concern.
Sure.
Dr. Huddleston, you have the floor.
To Julia's question, are you vertically integrated with property management, or do you have a third party?
Yes, we're vertically integrated with several aspects. So pretty much everything. We do everything in-house. So development, of course, we're our own general contractor, property management, we have a compliance team, design, architects, and then a finance team that helps with the debt and equity. So we do everything in-house. We're a long-term owner as well. So we build and we hold forever, basically. We have in the last few years offloaded some of our acquisition developments that we did 10 some years ago. Our CEO is really focused on new construction, 200 plus unit affordable bond deals, and wants to basically just continue to do that and only own things that we have built.
Awesome. That was my second question on the exit strategy. And then if you are a long-term holder, how is that reflected in your construction standards?
Yeah, so we have very high standards. I can provide, we have like actually I might have a paper copy of it if you want to see it. But I can send to Alex a summary of our finishes and standards, but we're pretty close to a market rate standard. We have very high quality finishes. Our typical product, and this one will be like a 3-story, your typical garden style breezeway. We'll do, I think on the exterior, at least 30% stone or brick, vinyl siding. I'm sorry, not vinyl. We'll do hardy board here. And then as far as interior amenities, we typically will do hard floor surfaces in 100% of the unit, all black appliances, hard countertops. We do some green features, so we'll do like energy efficient appliances, faucets, shower heads, LED lighting, all of that. I can get you the exact details and specs of what our standard is, if that's helpful.
That I would like to see that. That would
Sure.
be great. And with Texas having freezes in the past few years, are you doing anything uniquely to protect against?
I know for senior projects specifically, because those buildings have elevators, this will not be senior, but those deals specifically, we are looking at putting in generators at construction. We have not looked into it for the family developments. But I do know that most of our property management teams down here, especially after the last couple crazy storms, these last couple of years, they have put like a written plan in place as to what happens in the event of a storm like that. So.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Dr. Weber, did I see you raise your hand? No? Okay, great.
Well, you can.
Well, I will now come back to myself wearing my Director Becker hat on. Because you are integrated, and it sounds like you are your own GC, but you have some experience building. Let me ask you the question the way Director Becker would ask it. What experience do you have building this type of structure?
So this specific structure in Texas specifically, and we're all over the country, but in Texas specifically, this would be our, trying to count quickly, 1, 2, 3, probably 8th project with this building type in Texas, but we utilize it across the country. So it is, our CEO is very focused on standardizing our product just for cost efficiencies, building efficiencies, all of that. So this specific building type is our standardized product that we've utilized for the last several years and have built many times.
Earlier in the meeting, we adopted a set of construction quality ideas that will be developed further. One of the things we care a lot about, and that Director Becker has led on, is waterproofing.
Okay.
Kind of, what can you say about your approach to waterproofing and ensuring that you deliver it at the highest economically feasible standard? And have you changed your approach to it, given your property management experiences? That might be an incredibly granular question that you were not prepared for, and you may respond to it. You may respond to it.
I will follow up
through
on that.
through staff to us. And just so we're clear, you're getting these questions because you are our first contact with your organization, and we're trying to convey two things. One is we are mission driven. That can be. There are moments where that may feel unexpectedly a burden, and there are moments where that will feel really helpful, especially if you are mission driven, because we are not purely driven by achieving the highest return to capital, right? We are trying to achieve something for the public. And the second is we are a bit of a nerdy bunch, and we want to be a nerdy bunch. And again, this can be helpful because I think there's certain things that we are willing to understand about the plight of the work that you do and the risks that you take to deliver the product you do and administer the product that you do. But obviously that comes with some curiosity. So that is where waterproofing and all of the stuff about the track record on tenants and whether you're vertically integrated and why comes in. And then a final question. This is sort of a joint Becker-Altamirano question. What did Mr. Kittle discover about acquisitions that made them curious or interested in standardizing construction approach?
I think it was, we didn't build it, so we didn't have control over any of it, obviously, and I think that got hard to manage with a portfolio as large as ours and throughout the country. So the thought is that, we have the standardized product that we utilize down here. We utilize it in Indiana, in Florida. We know how to build it. We know how to design it, and we know how to manage it. And with the acquisition and the rehab projects, we just ran into so many issues, I think, as far as maintenance and poor building quality and all of that just, it didn't economically make sense, and they're just difficult to manage long-term. So, and as long-term owner, that's hard when you have a property that was built by someone else that you don't know the entire history of, so.
Yes, we have some experience with that.
You know,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, thank you. Yes. All right, I have no more Becker or Altamirano flavor questions. Seeing no additional questions, then it would be appropriate to entertain a motion for adoption of Resolution 66, yes? And that is a motion by Director Weber, and it is seconded by Director Prince. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the matter carries unanimously. I think staff got some, guidance from Madam Vice President, and you have at least one waterproofing question to engage. But we are excited. I know this is so early. This is, just to reiterate, so early in the process. But we hope we're giving you a sense of who we are and why we're excited to have a mission-driven partner to deliver great homes for people in this community.
Yes, I appreciate it. And normally I would have like a site plan and a lot more information for you, but again, it's the traditional carry forward timeline that's driving all of this. So I reached out to Alex and I was like, can we do this before the end of the year? So I appreciate you squeezing me in, and we will have a lot more information here in the coming months.
Yes, we have an informal lotto, which is we will stay open late for good projects. That is part of, as I was saying, that is one of the benefits of a mission-driven
Yes.
organization. Like, we are willing to do that. Hopefully you hear the other part of what it means to be a partner with a mission-driven entity. But thank you, and thank you
Yes.
for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
That takes care of action items, because as I said, A and C are works in progress. So now we go to discussion items. And if it's okay with me, since I get to decide, we're going to do the strategic outlook first. If we could just put I don't know if you had a prepared piece on this, or if we could just go to the handout from
not.
the board agenda. Director Gray, how would you like to?
So we, since it was a board-initiated item, we did not prepare a presentation.
Understandable.
And
No presentation is necessary.
Correct.
Yes.
So I have a question for staff, and I'm not actually sure which one of them is driving the presentation right now.
The slides?
Aha. So, I think it sounds like it might be useful to pull up the strategic outlook item from the board package.
Yes.
Yes.
Page 60.
Yes.
Page 60, and you can find that on the SharePoint drive. There's a board book final. Shall I help you, or?
I will let you know.
Thank you. Perhaps you'd like to speak some more.
Yeah, just briefly. I don't know if you had
Pontificate.
I know a few of you have had a chance to review it on the message board and maybe in the packet. And what I wanted us to get a chance to talk about it. Why do we need a strategic anything? So most organizations, as some of you know who've served on these types of boards before, have a strategic plan. The plan is supposed to guide and create a flow of what the organization is supposed to be doing, which in turn impacts how we evaluate. We are in a peculiar situation. We used to be covered by the strategic plan of the organization. We were kind of welded to. And now that we are no longer there, we don't have a plan. I know some of you know this, but I'll reiterate this for the viewing for strategic HFC watchers and folks that may not know. It is very unusual to have an enterprise, especially one that's starting to really grow, not have a plan or document a strategy. That's a quirky situation. So that's the first thing to take away. The second is we do not want to, as someone that used to, in a previous version of my professional self, have to write strategic plans, and a person's been afflicted with having to read them or engage them. It's a really time-consuming, potentially distracting process. There's so much stuff going on and changing that we might want to get a few sort of cycles of business gone through, so we can really know exactly how to go through that process. We don't want to I wouldn't want us to use staff's time that way. I wouldn't want us to use board time right now, being like, how do we do the strategic plan? But we needed something. And so in comes this device of, well, why don't we just have a compact version of a strategy, which is an outlook. The difference between an outlook and a plan is a plan tends to be, this is what matters, here's how we're going to do it. A outlook is more, this is what matters, and here's what we're thinking is going to happen around what matters. Here's what we should consider doing while we figure out exactly how we want to do it. And in the outlook that I provided to you, there's some very basic explanations of our current condition, our current operating environment, as well as some potential strategic actions. The way that we've been doing things is we sort of pick KPIs, our key performance indicators, based on our mission, and we use those KPIs to evaluate. The part that's sort of missing in there is the strategy. And as we later will evaluate ourselves, one of the typical sort of best practice questions you always ask of yourself as a board is, are you serving the mission? Are you achieving and implementing what's in your strategic plan? We currently don't have that, so we're in this netherworld of how to do it. My request to you all is today just to make sure that you want to proceed with, yes, let's adopt an official outlook or something. If you wish to call it a plan and just acknowledge that it's a compact version of a plan, that's fine with me too. And then agree on the individual pieces that we want to have in it. We've gotten some feedback, but this is very important. The final thing, and this is just me, everything that I've said up to this point, I think is by the book, highly defensible. What if we brought in some consultants that would say we should do? But it's just me. I think it's very important that it be short and easy to read. And by easy to read, I mean, I read a statistic that, what is it, half of Americans read below 7th grade reading level, which is determined in this, mathematical way. But the point is, not everybody has a postgraduate education or wants to read 80-page documents. I have a postgraduate education. I don't want to read 80-page documents. So I think we would serve ourselves and the public, if we kept it really short. The other thing, and this is again just me, but I think also the best practice, there's a lot of decisions we're going to be making next year. There's decisions we've been making this year. There's guidance we're going to have to provide the staff that has to be anchored by something. That is how we think about the world and what we're trying to accomplish. That's written down and can be consistently, pointed back to. So far, it's been a little vague. We know we want more units and better units, and we know we want the tenants to be taken care of, but we haven't really started the process of getting specific about what that means, what is the ultimate goal, what kinds of units, where, things of that nature. And so this is the beginning of that conversation. Those are all my remarks on this. What I would hope to come out of this is, yes, everybody wants to have a strategic outlook or a strategy adopted. 2, we can commit to engaging and reviewing in the coming month, what I've put forth, so that we can, sometime in January, February, be in a position to adopt a formal plan. It's also very important that staff, as we are doing this, are also telling us their feedback on a potential strategy, because we could say we want to go to the moon. The staff would say we are not competent at going to the moon. We are competent at financing affordable housing, and then we would have to have that dialogue about, okay, we'll meet you halfway. Let's finance affordable housing on the moon. And we need them to have buy-in, because they're the ones that do this every day. Reactions to what I just said.
I agree.
Yeah? Okay. Yes, Director Winnick.
I'm going to drill down a little bit.
Okay, please.
So on finding number 2, well, first off, finding number 1, I think it's arguable that there may be 1/2 of the residents of Travis County, according to Harvard Business School, who are rent burdened, defined as those individuals who are spending more than 30% of the income on rent, and extremely burdened, being more than 50% on their rent, which means it's untenable. There's just no way to be in Travis County at current wage and salary levels. So I do portray it, although I'm not interested in this language being reflected in the strategic overlook, as a housing crisis. I think we're in a housing crisis. And that's what's driven me to be a member of this board. On finding number 2, elegant language, the service experience in many affordable housing developments does not adequately support tenant well-being. I would say we've got set of deplorable conditions for many, many, many of our neighbors in Travis County. And I'm hoping that through our example and through our rigor, we will be able to show that these deals can pencil and that we can improve on what's currently an unacceptable level of conditions for tenants across this county. And I think our partner, stakeholder, BASTA, represented by Taheen here today, probably has a ton of data on that. In fact, you may even have added more things to your dashboard since I last looked, but I think pronouncing those and explicitly stating those things is the context within which I sit on this board. So I just wanted to emphasize those points. And then on your strategic actions, which I love having actions and having things we're going to do, could you talk a little bit about this 20% market influence goal, which is fabulous, and how you got there and what kind of time frame?
Yes, thank you for bringing it up. So on the two first things that you mentioned, I would encourage you and others to submit satisfactory language. I'm happy to be the master editor, and I can also take a stab at getting your language. But if you have language that you envision, or like a number, or submit the text that you want, and I will put it in. I'll put it in, y'all. I'll put it in. I have it. Okay. And so that one will be easy. The second one, I think if there's a significant or meaningful edit you want to make,
I might work with Bob.
Send edits. We'll figure it out. I would say that still on finding number 2, I did not meet my own standard in that things like the service experience seem very like management consultancy, and I apologize to everyone for that. I want to move away from that excessively jargon-driven or opaque language. So as you redo it, if we could find a way that everyone in Travis County can understand, that'd be great. And I don't think we need to hire a consultant to help us write things in a broadly understandable way. We just need to hold each other accountable to avoiding some of these problems. Yes, go ahead.
On that point, we do have a consultant in steady hand, right?
We have a PR consultant. We have not
Who's really good at
them.
messaging, Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is to bring it down to...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or not bring it down, to calibrate it to the...
Plain spoken.
Yes, exactly.
I need it plain spoken.
Because, we use things like AMI and et cetera. So we will need help, but part of it is just ourselves being disciplined about that, I think. I do, since you raise it, and then I'll come back to your point, I do think the one we will put out to the public, our official strategy, does need to be a little glossier in terms of how it's presented. But let's adopt the text and then figure out what instructions we provide the team about how to glossify it. Now let's go to your final item that you raised, which is the item. This is the big thing. And I was thinking about you, Director Weber, because I was trying to think, what's a standard that somebody like rigorous and ambitious would want? And how do we talk about it? And a lot of our previous HATC plan just had a unit count.
Yep.
Like 15,000. I don't even know. It seemed...
A percentage increase per portfolio.
I don't even remember. Something. And it just seemed was like, well, why is that? Where does that come from? And what I was trying to think of is, why aren't we honest with ourselves about what would it take to really engage the problem? And the problem is there is, at least as I pointed out here, there's not enough resources for us to have a lot of publicly influenced, highly affordable housing. Our tax abatement power does not give us that kind of juice.
Yeah.
our tax abatement power and our intelligence and creativity gives us potentially the ability to be a significant player in mixed income, the mixed income template. And so it's sort of, well, what would it take for our use of our tax abatement power to be a significant player in the mixed income template, significant enough that we can make the market more affordable and humane? One of the subtleties, and here I will be a bit jargon driven for different reasons, the nature of fiscal policy in the state of Texas is that capital expenses need to be financed through elections that allow the use of bond capacity. Chapter 394 gives us a broad-based abatement power that is permanent, has certain very modest limits, and does not require us to go to the electorate. Because we are in a property-rich county as a geographic district, this gives us not, utopian levels of fiscal power, but a very interesting tool that can do a lot of work. So if that's a tool that we have, and that is our core tool, and we know that there is a crisis, and we know that there's different players that have different constraints and different abilities to focus, we can pick an ambitious goal that fits our power. And that means identifying a number at which we think we can, it's the smallest number at which we can provide sort of shape to the market in a more humane direction. A more simpler way of saying it is we want to have enough units under control through the different tools that we have and different approaches that we have, that we can kind of help set the standard. So if somebody's in a really bad place, they can find us.
Yeah.
And therefore that drives behavior of the overall market.
Yeah.
What that number is, I guessed. And so, I could give you some big flag.
You get the 20%?
Yeah, because as you may know
Where are we at right now?
from your legal training, so the term is market power, right? And so depending on your industry, at certain moments you achieve market power that grants you oligopolistic or near monopoly powers. Now, folks tend to use that to be able to engage in pricing that destroys consumer surplus, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the same theory, set of theory, but applied to social benefit, which is at what point do we have enough market power to be able to kind of push our way into setting the standard. And I've joked about this a few times, but when I see those 80% occupancies and the pricing discounts, right, I'm like, well, bad for our cash flow, but super on mission. We're giving people the ability to leave bad housing, we're giving the consumers power. And so this past year, the term that we've used is we want to be counter-cyclical, because 2 years from now, when everybody that's been pulling out their projects is out and that occupancy starts to tighten, we will want to have been throwing units at it so that we keep some of that consumer power. What's that number? That is sort of the core question, and is this the right framework? But I would say of all the things in this to focus on, that and how we measure tenant well-being are the real sort of big policy strategic questions from which everything will flow. Because if we're saying we need to be at 20,000 units, we're at 4 on our way to 7, and we can add 2 at quality per year, that's a 10-year, 12-year strategy, but that's great. If we can have a true market setting, market adjust shaping force in a decade, I think we would all be very proud to have been a part of that.
So two things. One is that the number calculated is based on current,
Correct.
not, 12 years from now, there could be quite a few more units that we have to make the 20% of. But that's just a thing. But I am curious about where we're at now. Like, what percentage of market power do we currently occupy?
We have approximately 3,700 units operating today. We have about a little over 3,000, not all affordable, to be clear, but 3,000 in units that you have approved but have not yet closed. And the number, we have 1,600 units in the construction process.
And so the current percentile would be
something with
close
someone with
to,
We're at 7 of 300K or something like that as well.
Are we
270.
closer to 8,500 of, would you like to know based on what is in our pipeline or what we
Currently
have
existing.
closed? Okay.
I'm underscoring how ambitious it is, which is exciting. I'm just also wanting to gauge how far we have to go.
We have 1.4%.
1.4. There you go.
Yeah.
This is not, yes, from my perspective, the 27,000 is not a 2025 goal.
No way. No
We should
way.
probably
Oh,
say
no, I
that.
understand.
Yeah.
So I know you do.
But each
I
year
think,
it
you know,
changes.
But if
Yeah.
we're doing time-sensitive strategic outlooks, right, it might also be useful to think about what is a reasonable
Yeah.
metric
Yeah.
within a year.
Can I have staff's response to that 20% for now, just since we're here and we'd love to hear?
So how about, what I'd like to do, I think, is give a sense of staff's sort of, processing of this and then response timeline. So with new staff, we have spent some time, and this is certainly one of the questions we've brought up. Look, far be it from me to bring the president back to his own concept of Cabay.
I love Cabay.
Correct.
For our newest director.
Quality adjusted bedroom affordability years. Because we talk about units, but we really
You
are.
heard it here.
We talk about units, but we really mean bedrooms, especially because it's not a linear relationship. The third bedroom is much more valuable than the second bedroom, and units are not really units forever. Units have decaying quality, and so when a brand new unit is of the highest quality, and we have it for 20 years, 40 years, depending on the. Whereas an acquisition unit in a 20-year-old building, the quality is low, and how much do we have at 5 years? Maybe so what we want to be is we want to translate effort and dollars into buying Cabay cheap. And so one of the things in the plan is I think Cabay is going to be really cheap the next year because of 80 occupancy and glut. People being like, "Oh man, I was so excited about the Sun Belt. I got to get out," or "I'm in distress," or "It's new, but I need a tax abatement to make it work," or so.
You don't have the competition.
And there's all this glut. So exactly. So people are willing to take bad deals, bad for them, good for us, which is why it's so important for us to be proactive. I think everybody will feel more comfortable taking the risks that come with being proactive if we all are grounded in the same intellectual framework of we're trying to get to market power, and the fastest way to get to market power is through cheap Cabay. So if this is a year to do cheap Cabay, we're going to do more risky stuff than we would in 3 years from now, where maybe the market is tighter and people are like, I'm not going to sell at that price, or no, I don't want your tax abatement, I'm not desperate, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, with that exposition, Dr. Gray.
Yes, so I think that, we have been having internal discussions, we have some comments, I think, still in process, and we are bringing on a whole set of new folks who I think may have useful input. And so thinking about January, at least is what President Altamirano has laid out, what we'd like to do is, I would say, if not by end of year, early January, provide staff input. I think it's useful to have the thought exercise of what is a number that feels like it gets you that market influence. I am less attached to whether that is the correct number than it is to what's the scale of our ambition. What's the scale of our ambition around not only units but affordability, right? And I will say, as an example, it's interesting that you just, I think, uncovered for me a difference in thinking around the years measure, which is not only the useful life of the building, but we have done some deals this year, or approved some deals on the workforce side that did not have significant requirements around how long the partnership would last. Right? They can exit the partnership. Now, the tax abatement goes away, right? But it's an opportunity cost for staff because we've just spent time and your time assessing a deal, et cetera. So thinking about, how long have we secured affordability for is another way to think about it. It's securing forever affordability with no capital investment is a challenge. And so we're also thinking about, as we gradually hopefully accumulate capital, how we can strategically use it to achieve, those various goals that are within the CABE framework, if you will.
Also, and this is important because I might be too subtle in here, it's much more important to get affordability from 40 to 30. So getting a unit down from 50 to 30 is much more powerful, probably in terms of advancing the well-being of human beings in the county, than maybe from 80 to 50, right? And that somebody that's extremely burdened at 80 and right at 50 probably has a okay life relative to someone that is extremely burdened at 50 and okay at 30, just in terms of their materials situation. But that does not mean there is no value at 80 to 50 or no value at the stability of 80. And I think sometimes, in our conversations, being able to say this thing in West Austin is 80 for as long as we're in it, right, is in our mission, even if it is not as powerful as, we've got more 30s. And so when we think about why we keep saying mixed income social housing, and these terms, or just mixed incomes, workforce housing, excuse me, I think we're moving away from the social housing term for a variety of reasons, even if it is mechanically mixed income, affordable housing is the same product. Part of it is because of the amount of fiscal power we have, and that the tax abatement and the deals are our main tools. Part of it is also there's a lot of other entities focused on permanent support on PSH. There's a lot of entities focused on 30. We could become really good, in part out of necessity, in that we do not have a permanent funding stream at the 80 to 30, and I think we can defend that reducing the variance at the 80s and the 70s and the 60s is of value, particularly if we do the focusing on certain subpopulations that are important for well-being of the county, like public workforce. I think we've talked a lot about that item now, and I don't know if there are other people that want to add additional feedback.
I have one thing.
Yes.
the more units you put in a specific submarket will obviously increase supply. So if there is a way to look at the submarkets that are most in need and concentrate there by like strategically going into those submarkets and adding more supply, you are adding more affordability like to the entire submarket, which may be a quicker way to be a market player if you focus on the specific submarkets than large at a whole.
Is your instinct, therefore, let's differentially subsidize so we get more West Austin units because there's less affordability there? Or are you saying, who cares about West Austin? Let's just make East Austin super permanently affordable. What's your intuition from that statement?
I would love to see a heat map on where like the greatest need is based on like workplace salary or hourly work. Like where has the most, you know, workers that are under a certain subsect of
Living there.
yeah.
Oh, you're saying where is the most where is the most extreme rent burden?
Discrepancy, yeah.
Discrepancy between
These are slightly different, which is the difference between the workforce in a particular area
Yeah.
and the housing available
In that area.
yeah.
which is-
And
Oh, so you're saying, oh, look at all these
Mismatch.
nurses that work on 38th but could not live in Terrytown. Is that kind of
Can't
what you're
live
getting
in
at?
Yeah,
Travis
like-
County.
yeah, exactly. But
Okay.
either way, I think if you concentrate on like a submarket or a very specific area and you put more units in there, you force everyone else to kind of meet you where you're at. Is that
It's distinct.
it's more like it gives you like market power quicker in that area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree conceptually. I would have a request, which is if you could put that as a either finding or strategy action, so that future versions of the staff and future versions of the board, if they were consulted, have a sense of kind of where you're going, or you could just post that feedback in a way that we can reference to then absorb it in the right way. I do agree that much like I talk a lot about public workforce specialization, picking spatial focus might be a benefit precisely because of what you're saying, to achieve our market power faster, if that is indeed the big goal. I also want to make sure that, you know, in the future, former directors, if they so wish, feel free to participate, since their accumulated knowledge will still be, you know, beneficial to how we sculpt this. So if it's okay with everybody, what I will do is I'll say, as the person that hopefully, if I'm reappointed, will be leading this effort as a director, I'll convey a deadline for feedback to the group, and then the staff will tell me when they're going to come in, and then we might have another discussion, depending on time allowing, on a draft, and then we will do adoption, if that makes sense. If, as you process it, you have alternatives to this notion of market influence to set a standard, that'd be really welcome. I also did not really provide a highly prescriptive and quantified version of tenant well-being. We might need to, for a while, just go with vibes and surveys or something, but we might also want to pick something like per capita evictions. I don't know, but I think it's an area that if we're committed to, we need to pick something so that it guides our focus, resource allocation, etc. If there's nothing else on this from the staff, then we will move to our final item of the day, which is board self-assessment. And for this, I do have a slide.
How did you do that?
Dun dun dun. Ooh, look at that, branded and color. Thank you. Who did this for us? Who did this? So, thank you. Amazing.
Diana?
The best. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I made it easy,
Yeah,
but I still appreciate it.
Sir.
In the board manual that we just approved and that you have previously received, it is the duty of the executive committee to identify a process for board self-assessment. The process that we've identified, which means me, was we really should do a board self-assessment. And my hope is this will be the launching pad to copying the sophistication of our executive director evaluation for our own self-assessment for next year. But we kind of have to do it a first time to see how we feel, what we learn. A board self-assessment is a well-understood best practice where the board talks and figures out, are we doing a good job? What are areas where we can strengthen? So I looked at over the last couple of days, since I got some encouragement that this was indeed the right thing to do, at a battery of like hundreds of questions, and I settled on 7 that I think really make sense for us to make the foundation of how we talk about self-assessment. And so what I'm going to do is for each one of these, I'm going to try it out as a statement. And then I want us to, one by one, tell us if we agree with the statement, disagree with the statement, and if there are things that one would propose as potential improvements. So let's start with the first one. The board is effectively pursuing its mission. Think about it for a second. Okay. So with me, if you agree that we are effectively pursuing our mission, will you just raise your hand with me? Yeah? Yeah? No? Oh, I noticed some hesitancy. I noticed some hesitancy in certain corners. Where do we think we could do a better job on this? No?
That's a, may I?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really broad statement.
Mm.
So maybe some of these comments could better fall under some of the more specific points you've put up there. But I think the degree to which we're effectively pursuing our mission is directly proportionate to how much we understand about the resolutions that we're being asked to deliberate on and vote on. And I think we're getting better on that. But I think there has been instances where through lack of time, through challenges that each of us face in our lives to be able to peruse 220 pages in 4 days, where maybe we're not as fully versed as we're being asked to be. Part of it's the nature of the materials being, as we've mentioned earlier, perhaps aimed, and as a postgraduate person who can't always understand the 200 pages of materials, I say it's a challenge. It's really a challenge. So I do think we could get better at that. I don't think we've hit the gold standard on that yet, but I just wanted to self-disclose that it's been a challenge at times. Yeah.
Well, do you have suggestions for improvement, or even if they're just conceptual? Or are you saying everybody read harder?
No. I'm reading as hard as I
Okay,
can.
'cause I don't know if that's going to work.
Well, one of it is something that our illustrious executive director has already identified in our own self-evaluation is timeliness of materials. And so, yay on that. That'll help. Also, there's a dialogue undergoing with staff on how to present the materials in consumable ways with visual aids. Yay for that. So, I think those are 2 specifics that are going to help.
Director Weber?
Yeah, just a question. So is the statement the board has effectively pursued its mission in 2024, is that what we're really, okay. So I am wholeheartedly 100% yes, we have. And I'm basing that on the number of policies that we have adopted, including the fabulous policies we adopted today. Just that alone I believe, has raised the bar so far in, 9 months. So, while I hear what Jan is saying, perhaps that goes to number 3, the workload. Whether the workload has been appropriate this past year. But as far as number 1, I would give us a gold star.
Okay. Any other feedback on what?
So I hear you. So we're pursuing it. Yeah, emphasis on pursuit. Yeah, we're doing our dangest as a board. And there's a couple of tweaks that could help, in my mind, beyond even workload, but yeah.
Okay. Seeing no other feedback on this, board members have the appropriate skills and capabilities to best serve SHFC. Yes?
Again, absolutely. I think in the future, it might also be appropriate to say like the lived experience, because the diversity of experiences among our board is what makes it so good. But in this past year, absolutely, we've all brought it. So in 2024, I absolutely believe that we have brought the appropriate skills and capabilities to our board work.
I don't want to, does anybody else want to add before I do? Go ahead and then I'll add.
I personally would like to understand more about like the deal mechanics and incentives and how they align. That's like a personal, would like to be able to understand that so I can better serve.
Yeah, I almost want to put the word pursue in this too, because I think we're striving. And I think we have a really great, excellent mix of acumen and representation, which is a dynamic that we need to continue through the years ahead. So in that sense, I think we show up with what's needed. And in addition, at least 3 directors have been attending additional trainings and gone to conferences and are asking for training. So I think, we're striving, and it's a fluid situation. Like, you may not walk in with everything that you need, but are you getting it? Yeah.
I agree. I think we had a really nice mix, and I am hopeful that our next vintage will have a similar really good mix of experiences and acumen. It's so interesting you say that, Director Huddleston, because as long tenured as I've been, I feel exactly the same way as you do, which is there's always something to learn, because it's not my industry, and so I thought I knew a lot about affordable housing, and then as we do this stuff and you see all these little nuances and the technicalities, so I don't know how to take it to the next level. I mean, I think you have paths for engagement, hopefully, on the board that will, help you grow your acumen, but kind of how we can do the speed run for the entire board on all this stuff is a little elusive. I do think there's external training, there's more in board workshop, but it's an area that I want us to continue to improve on. I don't think it's as straightforward as, let's have someone come talk to us again about the bond review board timeline. Although that was really helpful the first time. Now I'm at a different place, and so it's kind of, how do we help everybody get that? Well, at least we have the video now, but then there's new things that come up, and how do we all grow together? Part of it comes back to, yes, helping staff have empathy for our needs of, we want to be able to provide effective oversight. We don't want them to spend too much time catering to our, information idiosyncrasies. How do we make them create the most productive information products? And some of the resolutions we've been adopting are to enable that. But I do think we have the right skills and capabilities so far. I think it's good that it's a mix. One other solution that we've talked about before is having more advisory groups that can help add insight and analysis without eating up staff time and without adding workload to us. And so I think we might want to revisit that next year. If there's no other comment, we'll move to number 3. The workload on the board is appropriate. Reactions to this?
In 2024?
Yeah, 2024. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
No.
No. No, right?
And the executive committee especially. Y'all have taken on so much and gone, so far and above. It's not sustainable. But I don't know what the solution is.
It's appropriate to the task at hand.
Yeah, well, I think it's a way of saying, like, do you think you're doing too much work, eh? I think that's what that question's about,
I think the executive committee certainly can.
It's what?
And the executive committee certainly. Those of us who've served on more than one.
Yeah,
Committee.
I mean, you got, yeah. So all of us, have,
I think you should say the workload on the board and committees is appropriate. Or we could put on number 4, board meetings and committees.
Yeah.
But we got to get committees in there, yeah. Because they've exploded this year and they've really had a huge work product, all of them.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal, but it's not sustainable.
Treasurer Huddleston, if I can put you on the spot. How much time did you think this would take up when you applied?
Let me just say
Yeah.
I've been on boards
Uh-huh.
and nonprofit work my entire existence, really. And I haven't had the workload that you have had, but I mean, I was thinking somewhere between like 7 to 10 hours a month.
Yeah. And has that expectation been met? And do you think it will continue to be met?
I mean, for me it has.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think I've I've read and we went to the conferences, so I don't think that I've necessarily put in the total, but I am, looking forward to working more on it.
Yeah. What do we want to do as a board? Because I do think things will be different for the next executive committee and the committees because there's more structure, more staff, less crisis, less powder keg. I think, especially as we do more policy, things start to become more plain vanilla transactions. So that will reduce the workload. But are there other things that we think we should do to help with that?
It's I think like you said, it's going to get better. We did a lot of things this year that needed to be done one time. We got a lot of that stuff done. Maybe it needs to be revisited 4 or 5 years from now, but we don't have to redo it from the ground up like we have this year. So I'm sure the next 2 years will be much less hectic.
Okay. But we are aiming for the 10 to 20. 20 is the max, 10 is the realistic minimum per month kind of range. Does that sound right?
That's what it is.
Okay. All right.
I think that's the task at hand, yeah.
And I think one of the things we want to, that we have to discipline ourselves to keep our plate at that size. You can't say, oh, I want to eat less, and then go to the buffet and be like, that's not going to work. And then also both in meeting and out of it. So part of it is, yes, we have to focus, but we also have to at times maybe find ways of being more productive. Advisory boards there could help again. Board meetings adequately enable directors to achieve SHFC goals.
That's where we put board meetings and committees adequately enable the directors to achieve SHFC goals, because I think a lot of the goals have been met through committee this year.
Okay. No reactions on this one? All right. Board deliberation is inclusive and constructive. 2024. Yeah. 2024, y'all.
Oh, 2024.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
This year.
No, I wasn't going to invoke the nightmare
No,
of the past.
this
Okay.
year.
Yeah, I just kudos to our chair. I think that that's really been well done, and not only the meetings effective and constructive and productive, but they're pleasant to participate in, and things run really smoothly, and we make it through our time frame. Yeah.
Any other reactions on this? Or anyone wanting to take a devil's advocate on this?
No,
No?
it's been
And
just superb.
Impeach you.
Well, I will tell you this. I always keep this. I have this idea that I use in conversation, which is the conversation pie. And so if you think of a conversation, there's a pie, right? And your share of the conversation is a slice in the pie. And when I think of an inclusive conversation, everybody's got a slice, and everybody's pie, the slice in the pie is as big as they need it to be. And I don't always know if we facilitate everybody being able to say everything that they want. There are some techniques like cold calling, or back in the day, remember when it was more difficult to be inclusive? I would be like, let's go one by one so that everybody gets to talk. I do think we can, I want to be alert, and it'll be easier next year since I will not have to chair, to manage the pie. Because I personally do think sometimes my pie slice got too big, and I didn't even want it to. And so I want to make sure that it gets a little smaller, and then we find ways to, whether it's new directors or the new directors that we have now or new directors in the future, to make sure that they get to have as much pie as they want. I do think we were constructive, pretty, like 99% of the time. Any other reactions to this one? The board adequately sets policy and provides guidance to staff.
I guess I would just refer to the executive director's comments last month, and I don't think those are in my email. I wanted to see if I could look at them, but does anyone, would they be in my email?
I believe Vela emailed us a copy of her feedback to the board, if that's what you're referring to.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
Nope, here it is.
Yep.
You did it on November 21st. So there you go.
Yeah, guilty.
So dang efficient.
I mean, she was fairly complimentary. So I would take that feedback and say, yes, we have.
So we have it from the ED, we don't have it from the rest of the staff.
True.
We can ask for it right now.
We could survey them
We
in
can survey
the
them.
future.
Okay.
And so many of them have been here so little time.
Yeah.
I think so. I agree with you that the feedback was complimentary, but I do think there was a desire for us to add, structure to our feedback through policymaking, and to focus on a narrow range of maybe topics, like big topics, and let them achieve the goal of the big topics. So I would say whereas a lot of these are A pluses, I feel this one is more B plus, and not because we didn't try, it's more that we were learning the sport. Because the board was the board was learning to deal with a new team. It was very much like guidance from the dais, and I think we want to move away a bit from that, and more to make sure the meetings are 90 minutes, and things are smooth, and we can leave time for this stuff. Then things are more driven by the text and policy. So I would say B plus, but I would say I agree, but not strongly.
Yeah. Again, we didn't survey this on the second part of item 7 is to staff stakeholders and the public. We did have a little slightly lower stakeholder rating than the ED did, but in terms of the public, I don't think we've engaged in a whole lot with PR or public communication. So that's something I think 2025 will look different than 2024 did.
Yeah, why don't we just jump into number 7 then? The board clearly communicates goals and strategy to staff, stakeholders, and the public.
I mean, the strategic outlook
Mhm.
will be a great step in the right direction. And stakeholders,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the strategic outlook will also inform them, but I think we probably want more.
Yeah, when I was looking at all these different board assessments, this is the one that I was like, wow, we have not done this at all. And not in a conspiratorial way. It's just we have not been externally focused. We also are a quirky thing to explain if we choose to make it quirky. I think we have goals. I don't think we have a strategy, if we're being honest. But we're going to fix that. And I think we don't really talk to stakeholders or the public outside of, we had drama, so you're a stakeholder, and we want to make you happy. But there's all these other stakeholders, and then if we include the court as a stakeholder, I don't think that they want to hear from us every day. And we're going to have to define a relationship with them in this new phase. But I do think we should probably have a approach for them as a stakeholder. And the public, I don't think the public is unfortunately aware of the work that we're doing outside of a few of the moments where we've blundered. So I think that this is an area where the board as leaders we got to do a better job. I don't think we did a bad job. I just think it just wasn't in the correct sequence for us. But I think now we are in a different place. I also have to say, personally, the recent results of important events in our nation's life really have highlighted for me how important it is to communicate. There are people trying to address the material needs of our community, and the fact that we are so kludgy and hidden and don't have a proactive communications effort lit the fire for me of like, okay, we gotta get out there. Doesn't mean we're gonna spend $1 million on ads explaining that we do affordable housing, but we gotta do something. I think a little bit better was my reaction to this as I was seeing it through so many self-evals. Like, we're just not out there explaining things as a board. The staff obviously is out there, but we probably can do better on this.
Yeah, and just minor, including public events.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other reactions to this? Any other reactions to kind of how we did this year? Things we'd like to change or improve? Okay, seeing none. Is there any new or unfinished business that directors want to raise? We are currently scheduled to have our next meeting at January 23rd.
Yes,
Go ahead.
is there any way we could move it up to, like, before the 16th?
Before the 16th. Staff director reaction?
Yes, I'm checking with Alex and Parkus. We've talked a little bit about some transactions. I think we're open. We are onboarding, of course, 6 new staff people in the first, it's sort of between now and mid-January, but maybe the first day is a board meeting. So I think we are serve at your pleasure. I would say discuss amongst yourselves what your preferences are.
Yeah, just to shed light on this, yeah, I think that what's hovering over us is possible quorum issues. Depending on what happens December 17th at County Commissioners Court with 2 of our members on either side, flanked by members who have reapplied that need to be reappointed. And so are you saying that it would be hard to be in person?
Yes,
Yeah.
I will not be able to be in person on the 23rd, but I can definitely be on Zoom, but for quorum.
Well, I think the sequence is, let's see what they do on the 17th, and then we will talk about a physical quorum, unless it's really important for you to be physically here, and then we will start immediately on figuring out a 16th thing. And we can process that. Why don't we figure out the January meeting date through conversation? But I would be available
Early.
different pieces of January, not every piece, as I will be out of town 1 week, but I'm sure we can figure it out. We also don't have 2 of the people who might potentially be here, and so we will have to consult with them. A request has been made, and we will make a good faith effort to fulfill it. Any other new or unfinished business?
You can make one comment related to the calendar.
Of course.
So presumably in January, we will have new officers.
Oh, we will have them. Oh, 100%.
And so I presume that it is likely sort of at the purview of the new executive committee to set the calendar. But I'm prepared to discuss, I think tomorrow we have executive committee meeting, look at the annual calendar for board meetings. And so there is a world in which moving it back a little bit might make it easier to select 1 or more options later on down for the subsequent months. So we'll look at that. And is it your intent as your last act in office, President Altamirano, to...
No, he's chairing
You know.
in January.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, to set the calendar for next year. It's tricky. Yes, we can set a preliminary date so that we know at least what we're going to be doing the first 3 months. In all likelihood, we will have potentially more board turnover. We could have massive turnover depending on what the court does next week. And then we'll need to revisit based on the life situations of those individuals. But at least to give us a sense of what, when, and what.
Yeah.
And I would welcome staff help in surveying to find the answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we'll do it.
Thanks.
Any other new or finished business? Seeing none, then, before we adjourn, I will just say, it has been my pleasure and honor to be your board president in the last 2 years. I feel we have made great progress. I'm so delighted to see all these happy faces, and I could think of no better gift than this gorgeous lapel pin that has a new logo, is so shiny and full of optimism. and speaks to what we want to do, which is build great, high-quality, affordable homes for the people in our community. I am optimistic that it will be reappointed, and I am really excited about the things we could achieve in the next couple of years. I also want to say with a real gratitude, thank you, especially for those of you that are the early people. Debbie, Keith, my man, I'm so glad you're back. I hope you're feeling good. For putting up with the earliest versions of me as I was sorting out what was going on at SHFC, and I'm so grateful that we've got all of these rock star, highly talented people here, including our executive director. I'm very optimistic about what we may be able to achieve. We had really brainy discussion about our strategy. We had a really nice comment from the community. There's been so much change that we've been able to do in the time that I've been here, and I really appreciate that you guys give me the space and support to be able to do it. I'm very excited about whomever the next leadership team may be. I think they're going to really do a fantastic job so that we can continue to make progress. And I am sad that Director Reams isn't here, but I'm glad that my good friend Keisha Prince is here. I hope that, when as you go through your holidays and you reflect on the season and its meaning, you can be so proud of how your perseverance and your example, inspired someone like me, to put in the effort to achieve the things that we have. They really are a testament to your strength and patience. So I'm really glad that you're here, and I want you to know that it wouldn't be possible without the leadership that you have shown in your own way, and that you will continue to show for us. Thank you for kickstarting everything by fighting for what was right at times where it wasn't easy. So thank you, Keisha Prince, for that. Thank you all for your patience with me. Thank you for working with me, and I really look forward to what we're going to do the next couple of years, if the court is willing. With that, this meeting is adjourned at 2:44 by my clock. Thank you.
Thank you.